we're breaking down anything and everything Utica City FC related. This is the Keeper's Corner podcast with your hosts, Matt Sterling and Brandon Brooks. Let's get into it.
Hello. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to the Keeper's Corner podcast, episode 87, the Blast Edition. All right, that's enough of that. I can't leave it on that long. I can't do it. I got my Riggies. It's Riggies, okay? It's Riggies.
Yeah, you went incognito down there with the Riggy jersey, and now...
I didn't.
No?
Huber went incognito for about 30 seconds.
Okay.
I went down, blue. I was a glutton for punishment.
Is what it is. I agree with Pika there. Yep, chat is responding appropriately. That is why I didn't want to say anything until you addressed the ambush in the room.
I didn't wear the jersey that I got. I didn't wear I bought a jersey. I bought Moy's jersey, and I had him sign it because it's Moy. Moy's our boy. Had to. And, they had these very nice 40 years scarves. And I'm a collector of scarves. If you haven't noticed, I've got this. I've got a couple of them from Utica. Got one from Empire. I'm trying to get one from every team, including, jerseys and scarves, trying to do both. That's what I'm working towards. So let's just check one off the list.
Yeah, I mean, I'd thrown on my Comets jersey because I was going to jokingly make this like a Utica Comets podcast for April Fools. And then you walked in wearing that thing, and I was just like, nope, I can't do it.
I just one-upped you. Like, hey, this is a Blast podcast now.
Ambush.
Ambuns.
As you and so many others pointed out to me that my late night posting sent the wrong image.
Beat the ambush. We're not playing the ambush.
That's all right. Did you see the response in the next one that I posted? I'm like, neither team's making the playoffs, so they're like the same thing. It doesn't matter.
I didn't see that. That's cold.
What else is cold? Knocking out a goalkeeper.
Resisting urge to losing.
God standing! The man, the myth, the legend!
He earned one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I talked to him after the game, and I told him, I'm like, did we just talk about this? Did we not just talk about this? You and I talk about the fact that I started calling you Scott Sterling because of that. And I had finally weaned off of doing so because you hadn't taken one to the face in a while. And then what do? You take one to the face again.
I think we should probably get him one of those boxing helmets with the full padding. Just because, Julian, my man, I know you want to use your whole body to block the goal, but this part... There's important stuff up there that doesn't like getting rattled. And taking a soccer ball to the jaw like you're taking a left hook, really not the best idea.
I mean, at least he made the right... I don't know if he made the right decision or if someone else made the right decision for him to pull him off. I think he was going to try and stay on. I didn't ask him that. It looked like he wanted to stay on because two trainers were talking him out of it.
Yeah. I don't know. Watch some Karate Kid. Let's get some wax on, wax off motion going so you can block the shots to the face.
It was a fun game, though.
Yeah.
It was a good time, I'm going to say this.
Mm-hmm.
First time going down to Baltimore, Gordy, you didn't actually make this happen technically, but you did because you put it in my brain. So I blame you. People were super nice, most of them. you're always going to have that mix, just like you're going to have in Utica, just like you're going to have in Milwaukee, anywhere else. The broadcast does not do the arena justice. Yeah. As I've mentioned in my Facebook post, like, it really doesn't do it justice. It is a very nice arena. It is small. Don't get me wrong. It is small. I get that. But, it's just, it's a nice, cozy arena. Just very nice decoration, everything. Like, very, very nice place to have a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great basketball arena.
Yeah. I know. It is. Listen, it is small. I can't deny that, just because it's a fact.
That's what it is, Like, I think I said the same thing when I went there. Very nice arena. Boy, that field looks a lot smaller in person.
Yeah. I mean, I was sitting right next to it. I mean, I haven't even watched the broadcast yet, just because I don't want to listen to it. I'm probably gonna watch it on mute.
Good plan.
We were right on the boards. I mean, right on the boards across from our bench. So fantastic seats. We had some nice Blast fans around us. I know Huber had some great interactions with an older gentleman that was sitting next to us. Awesome person. We were sitting with DJ Albert's wife. Mm-hmm. We got to meet her. Extremely nice person.
And
we had some other
DM'd the pod and thanked you for chatting with her and keeping her company during the game and being just there. And
no, both of them are super nice people, like just absolute sweethearts. We had some other Utica fans in the same group. I think we had like 7 or 8 of us in the first row. And there were a couple in some of the nice seats. They have like these padded seats up top. Mm-hmm. There was about 4. There was a family up there. There was a couple more up basically in the rafters. Those guys were a hoot. They were fun. I didn't catch names, but I like those guys.
Glad you had a safe trip, fun trip.
Yeah. It was fun. It was a good time.
So I guess we should actually talk about the game now.
Well, I figured, we had to touch on my field trip a little bit.
Well,
I get it.
When are you going back?
I might try and make a trip next season. Okay. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. If I can find a way, if they somehow the stars align, and there is like a Baltimore game on a Saturday and a Harrisburg game on a Sunday, that would be perfect. Like if we just happen to be making that trip, I would try and hit up both.
Yeah, because they're like an hour apart.
Yeah, there's not much difference. So that would be a fun weekend. Mm-hmm. It really would.
Yeah, it'd be like Utica playing Albany. It'd be great.
Yeah. Anyway, the game.
All right, yeah. So you guys went down. You saw the last game of the year. It was a 15-10 Baltimore Blast victory. That was pretty tight up until the fourth quarter.
It was. Yep. Very offensive a game for sure. Mm-hmm.
All right, I got to ask because chat mentioned something. Why are you no longer allowed in Dunkin' Donuts in Syracuse?
About that. Can I plead the fifth?
Can I take a guess?
It was a long trip, and I needed to stop somewhere.
Yeah, that was my guess. Was going to be you said something about blowing up the bathroom, and someone was like, "Bomb threat, call the cops." And then you guys got held down there for a while. And you're like, "No, that's not what happened."
Yeah, we'll just go with the poor bathroom. Anyway, I'm sorry to everyone listening.
Play the change the game.
I didn't even want to bring it up. And then someone had to open their freaking keyboard. Somebody had to type it on their keyboard. Huber. bully.
Ahoo! All right, so stat tells the story for this one.
I think the goals speak for themselves.
Okay.
This was a very offensive affair. I mean, yes, I could say just Sogs, but honestly, it's the fact that it was a 25-point game. Like, this was an insane game with so many goals. It just felt like every couple of minutes, just goal, with a couple of, breaks in the action, but just a great offensive game, plain and simple. And Frank with a hat trick.
Yeah, Frank going out on top.
Yep.
Well, pretty close to the top. All right, mine, I guess, kind of comes not a traditional stat line because it has a little bit more to do with the fact that Utica's roster tells the story.
Oh.
It's, we talked about bringing the B squad, keeping as many legs healthy and away from injury and rested and getting healthier for the playoffs as we could.
Yep.
And we left a bunch of guys, and it was expected. To put it in perspective, we had Damon Almazan making his first appearance this year, his third game ever played. DJ Albert made his M1 debut.
And his first M1 goal.
Yep. Damon's goal was also his first.
I wasn't 100% sure. I had a feeling, but I didn't want to say without knowing.
Cole Stevens and Ricky Orozco, Jace Berger, 3 rookies right there. You sent 4 rookies, and the 2 guys that were playing, 2 guys on the team had less than 5 games of experience.
Yeah.
And that is Damon and Julian. Like, I think they said at the beginning of the broadcast going into it, Julian had 100 or had 79 minutes of action this year in his career. So, not even 2 full games, not even a game and a half worth.
Yeah, I'm gonna say not much at all. So,
No.
But in a game that doesn't mean anything to the standings,
Right?
I say that specifically because obviously a win means something to the guys.
Right.
It still could be momentum moving into the postseason. So it's not a game that means nothing, but it is a game that means nothing in the grand scheme of the league.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, no, it was a great showcase of some of the newer, fresher talent that we have. And I promise I was not calling DJ Albert Big Dylan, because he looks like a bigger, more burly version of Dylan Hundelt. I'm not gonna lie. At first, I knew the difference. I knew which one was which, but I made the joke that he did kind of look like a bigger version of Dylan. And I mean, but like I said, he congratulations on your first goal. Like I said, it was a very fun game. It was just a good game. Just wish we'd come out with a win, but
Yeah.
The Blast got to win on their Hall of Fame night, on their fan appreciation night, on their final game of the season.
Yeah, please, MASL, stop sending Utica to these Hall of Fame games. The half times are long enough as it is. And I'm just glad I only watched it on the replay so I could skip through it, because it takes forever. In person there, it probably doesn't feel that long.
I was gonna say, it wasn't that bad.
It doesn't feel that long, but I think I skipped 35 minutes on the video.
The first person that got inducted, I apologize, I don't remember the name offhand. He was a bit long-winded, but it's in Hall of Fame their Hall of Fame induction speech. I mean, you're gonna have that.
Yeah, but yeah, a lot of rookies. it was, like we said, B squad. And for Baltimore, they have an older roster. Who knows how many players just played their last game.
Yep. Yeah.
So for them, it's nice to go out and win. For the fan base, you get a little happy feeling, but like it's not one where you need to be like, yeah, we beat a playoff team. Everything's going to be fine. It's a nice parting gift.
It's just a nice way to end the season.
Yeah.
It is. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Like the home team got to go out on a win, take it, run with it.
That brings us to our play that changed the game. And you seem pretty excited about the one that you had, so I'm going to let you take it first.
So, yeah. As you know, Utica fans are loud. Utica fans are boisterous.
Yes.
We are in our arena, and that carried over for some, not for everyone. Because, me, I'm not usually that loud.
You don't have to be that loud when you're a few feet away.
Yeah. But some of the fans that were with us, down a little ways, were very loud and very boisterous, which awesome. I love the enthusiasm. Well, it got turned around on us because in the fourth quarter, the first goal, they were a little disrespectful, but I wasn't going to call them out. Pika. In the fourth quarter, one Adriano Dos Santos played off of that because there was a lot of back and forth with the fans, with the Utica fans, with Baltimore, with the refs, with other Baltimore fans.
Okay, that explains why he jumped on the glass right on the boards right in front of Utica fans.
In front of us, because he was playing the crowd. And you know what happened after that? The crowd was very energetic after that point. He did an absolutely smart play off of his goal and energized the crowd to rally for the remainder of the game. And guess what? That brought 5 additional goals for the rest of the game. Now, I'm not going to say that, without that one action that they wouldn't have still won, but it definitely rallied both the crowd, the seventh man, and the team. So that's why I said that one, to me, changed the game. Okay. Now, I have another one, but I'm going to let you go first.
All right. We already talked about it. Julian getting cold cocked by the ball. You had to put Wilkin in cold with a few minutes left. He's not exactly loose at that point. And the Blast took advantage of it and just opened things up a little bit more and kind of put it out of reach right there.
Yeah. Though
he did have a great save on the first Zierhofer attempt at goal, where he ran back and picked it off like a safety. But we've talked about it before. Any backup goalkeeper coming in with basically no warning is at a disadvantage. They're still trying to get fully loose. They're trying to get warm. They're not really in the flow of things. I mean, I do not envy Jones for trying to have to block the shootout from Frank. Like, guys coming in off the bench ice cold.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it was definitely, Brian's great.
Yeah.
But yes, anytime you have to come in cold, even doesn't matter how much time you got to play, it's going to affect you. You've been sitting watching for three and a half quarters, and then to have to basically come in and finish out the game. He in that time, he had 3 goals against him. So it sucks. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, and that first one, the one that kind of went over his left shoulder where he didn't get his hands up at all, it was like, yep, he's just still getting loose, not ready.
Yep.
But
yeah,
at that point,
unfortunate, but
Like, I'll be honest, this was a game I didn't care about at all. Didn't care about the outcome. I was like, just get out of there healthy.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, that's the big thing for us. Like, we went in again. We've said it over and over again. The game overall, in the grand scheme of things, meant nothing, and so it literally all we cared about was just getting out of there healthy, having a full roster, and just ready to go into the playoffs. And we did that. We accomplished that much. So that's a win. In all honesty.
Yeah. Like, eye test tells me that Julian had a better day than Zierhofer, even though Zierhofer got the win. That's without looking at their save rates. That first goal from Nelson, where he got caught up too high on a defensive clearance.
Yeah. Yep. That was surprising.
It's your home field, man. You know how short it is. You really probably shouldn't be pushing up that high, especially that early. You're not trying to come back and need to have a six attacker or pseudo six attacker.
Right.
And then there was the one from DJ where he just 5-holed him. And it looked like Zierhofer didn't ever see it coming.
That was so
and
nice.
I'm like, oh, I bet you he wants that one back.
Yeah, that one was pretty. Like, that was real nice.
But like, if you didn't know the rosters and depth charts and everything, you'd be like, wow, that Julian Rodriguez guy could probably start in this league. And if you watched Baltimore in this one, you'd be like, they could use a keeper still. Yeah, which isn't exactly the case. And, Zierhofer's ceiling isn't as high as Van Zella's was. His floor's a little low, but it's still plenty high and, within where the rest of the league is.
Agreed. Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, Zierhofer scored a goal.
Yeah, he did get a throw in. I mean, yay. Happens, on that field. I mean,
it's really nice that you can throw
field.
it to the yellow line on any other field.
Yeah, he almost got the second one, but his accuracy was off, and got it to the side, not the.
Yep. I don't know. With an arm like that, maybe the Giants should give him a call. All right. What needs to change coming out of this one? Me.
I mean, that's a bit hard to say, just for the simple fact that.
I guess let's change it because that was the final game of the regular season.
Yeah.
As we head into the playoffs, what still could be improved?
What could still be improved? Our special teams units. That's going to be the big one. It's always going to be the special teams. Like that's the big one. We always seem to struggle on special teams, whether it's offensive based, with power play, penalty kill, especially the power play, honestly. But definitely, we struggle. We know we struggle. So it's always something that we could use improvement on for sure. So just how we do that, I don't know. I mean, besides just basically practice it to death. But yeah, that's a big one to me, is we need to really do something with our power play. And six attackers, another one, kind of another special teams type thing. I didn't really think about that, and ideally we wouldn't be in that situation. But
both our power play and penalty kill are in the bottom half of the league.
Yeah.
Texas has a worse power play And trying to see among playoff teams. Texas and Monterey are the only two playoff teams with a worse power play unit.
Mm-hmm.
And Milwaukee is the only power play or penalty kill that is worse than ours. And that is by the slimmest of margins. We have a 5.95 kill rate. They have a 5.94.
Okay.
So not a great, like you said, that definitely could be improved still as we head into the playoffs. And it's something to watch for teams to take advantage of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, especially, I will say that I can't remember. Did we allow a power play? I think we did this weekend. I know it's obviously different team necessarily. We did allow 1 out of 2.
Mm-hmm.
So we allowed one power play to get through. And we didn't score on ours as kind of per usual. And I know we got scored on twice, so 6 attacker. So there's clearly just...
No, we scored on ours. It was the shootout. Everything else for them was a yellow card.
I was looking at it backwards. I was looking at it backwards. Because I was looking at the play-by-play, and it had Blast were power plays. No.
Blast scored on their first power play.
I'm just... Hear me out from the stats.
Okay.
On the website. Team stats, UCFC, power plays, 0 out of 1 is what it lists for us. And the Blast is listed 1 out of 2.
The Blast did go 1 out of 2.
Mm-hmm.
They scored on the first one. But the only cards that... the only blue card that was given was Zierhofer's tripping.
Right. Which
Frank scored on.
Yeah. So I don't know why that lists us as 0 out of 1. But I guess it wasn't technically it was a power play because of the card, but it never got to the power play point. I don't know. MASL.
I was going to say, what's more likely, that there's some funky rule we don't know about, or that the league just screwed up on stat keeping?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just go with, yeah.
At this point, I think, like you said, special teams got to be cleaned up. They really do. And in general, again, it's that just kind of clean up some of the foolish penalties and fouls. And, you gave up a 6-man penalty early in this one because you had too many men on.
Yep.
We've talked about...
that one surprised me. But different squad, yet again.
Mm-hmm. We've talked about the... some of the dumb defensive clearances or lack thereof where they bring the ball across. And there were a couple passes like that we got away with in this one, which is very scary on that small field.
We were literally playing with it in front of Julian again.
Yeah.
Like directly in front of him. That was being right there for it was terrifying. I was like, one sticking his foot out for 1 second. I don't remember who was the person on trying to steal the ball from our guy in front of the net, but if he sticks his foot out one time and he just happens to poke it, he's going to poke it in. Yeah. He's just going to toe poke it in, and we're going to look like idiots for playing with it in front of the goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. We had those dumb fouls against, or the dumb penalties that we talked about in Milwaukee and Kansas City, and these are things that are going to kill a team in the playoffs.
Yep.
So a little self-control, a little bit of, kind of chess. You want to think 2 or 3. I think 3, 4 moves ahead, not the play that you're making right now. We saw that at times with the one-touch passes that they had to get the ball out. I was like, oh, look at that triangle offense. I guess triangle passing, 3 guys pass it back and forth, moving around. You got 2 guys in the middle of them, can't do anything. That's something that's taught in like high school. But it looked good. And if we play smart, this team is very good.
Yep. No, I mean, number one, when we are at full strength, this team is or full strength or even slightly diminished full strength. Mm-hmm. This team is exceptional. We have a lot of depth, which has not been our forte in past years. We've definitely gotten towards the bottom of the barrel towards the end of the season with injuries. Mm-hmm. This is the first season that we've made it to the end of the season with Logan Roberts still in active, still, actually on the field instead of, having a knee injury or something like that, which has been unfortunately common for him in the past few years. So, I mean, right there, we're already having a great end to the season just for that fact that he's been able to stay healthy. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we do have a lot of promising rookies that are going to be able to help bolster this team going forward. Not only, I mean, if we need them in the off season, we have them. Mm-hmm. If we have them for, we'll hopefully have them for next season as well, and by then, hopefully they'll be even more experienced. I don't want to say even more experienced, but you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They'll be able to contribute even more next season. And we have a very promising team right now. Even if it's not this season, going forward, we just have a very promising, very exceptional team. And I'm here for it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I'm going to take that as your positive takeaway as we end the season.
Yeah.
Which is the depth looks very good. And even if we lose a couple of guys in the offseason, there's pieces there that should be able to step in and contribute with a larger role.
And I'm sure, it's the MASL. We're going to probably lose a couple of guys to trades or whatever, it's going to happen. It's not going to be surprising. We used to be surprised like, oh man, I can't believe they left. And it's this league. Mm-hmm. It's any league. Parts move around. We don't like to see it happen because we like our team, but you always are going to make the organization, the coaching staff, they're all going to make those adjustments that they feel they need to make in the off season to make the team better. Mm-hmm. So,
I'll give you my positive here as we end the season, and that is that this team looks like they have finally figured out how to use Frank Taiyu in the offense. He had 15 points in the final 3 games. The last time that happened was a 3-game stretch last February when he was playing for the Strikers, and they had games against the Flash, the Savage, and the Sockers, and he had 16 points that's only 14. 8-3, yeah. So that's 14. Let's see if there's a 15. 14. 3s and 2s and 4, 13. There it is. There's the 16-game stretch. And that came in 2020. 16 points in 3 games. He had a 3-goal, 1-assist game against the Sockers on February 17th. On the 19th, he had a 3-goal, 5-assist game versus the Sidekicks. And then on the 21st, he had a 3-goal, 1-assist game versus the Ambush. So he had a 4, 8, and 4 performance over a 3 stretch. Yeah, so it's been 4 years since he had a 3-game stretch like this.
Hey, I mean, when you're feeling it, when you're like these past few games, I'm going to take the Baltimore one out because it was kind of an off game. We're trying different things. I don't know if you noticed, but either I'm blind or there was a couple of shifts where we basically had all defenders out there and then all offensive. I don't know if you noticed.
I'll be honest, I was in and out of paying attention to this one.
One shift, mm-hmm. I happen to see, and I'm going off on a tangent. It is what it is. I will circle back to where we're talking about Frank. There was one shift where it was like Dylan, Nelly, DJ, I want to say Mo, and I think there was maybe somebody on offense, somebody a forward or something like that. Just very defensive heavy, and then we'd switch to very offensive heavy, where it was just the opposite. Like very different lines for this game. So I again, either that or I'm just blind, but I was right there. So, but as far as Frank goes, besides this game, you could tell that he's kind of been in the zone. You know, he's been able to hit those goals. He's been able to capitalize. He's been in the right. They've been setting him up in the right position to be able to capitalize. Whereas, you know, again, we talked about it before, just dumping it to the corner and he can't do anything with it. Like he's not the he can be a good distributor from the corner.
Yeah,
he's better at being a finisher in the middle, and we've seen that time and again in these past few games. So yeah, Frank has had a phenomenal end to the season, and
yeah, if you're
I want to see him, I want to see him stick around.
Well, we know we have him through next year.
Yep.
And no, if you're getting him the ball in the corner, there's got to be a nearby trailing runner, like on the Ronaldinho Wallace scorer.
Yes. I
put it out on our podcast Insta story today, where it's like, stop me if you've heard this before. Frank Taillou and Ronaldinho connect for a goal. How many times did we see that? Either one finding the other for a goal this year.
And it's funny, as we're talking about this, I just thought of two additional things that need to change, and I'm going to write them down. So I need to circle, because they are actually important. I want to circle back to them.
Okay.
Yeah, I if I don't write it down, I will forget.
Oh, I know the feeling. Let's go ahead, hit them now, I think. And then we'll move on and just kind of talk about the league in general, where things are after this weekend, because we have our league leaders finalized. We could throw names in the ring for who we think wins MVP, Defender of the Year, that kind of stuff.
All right. So I'll touch on these quick, and then, we'll go with that. So two things that were highlighted actually in many games, but also in this one. I'll start with one, which is follow-ups. Follow-ups have been extremely bad for us. I feel like, one person takes a shot and then nobody ends up in the right positions, or they're just off for a little ways off of being able to capitalize on a follow-up. When we went against Monterey, I brought this up before. It wasn't necessarily, you still had to be worried about the first shot, but it was the second and it was the third that were really the killers. And we don't seem to have that. We get the first shot off, and maybe on a blue moon, on the leap year of next century, we might end up having a follow-up on that. And that's what we need, more of that. We need more follow-ups to our initial shots. If we can do that, then this team is going to be even more of just a overall weapon in the league. But we need that component. We need to be able to follow up on our shots.
Okay.
So that's number one. Number two, when certain things happen on the field, we need to make adjustments. And what I mean by that, so the other play that I think had changed the game was the Jamie Thomas goal that went off of Mo. It went off of Mo's back heel, went in. The next goal, the Adriano Dos Santos goal, also Mo was unfortunately involved in that, going in. Two goals in a row that are now weighing heavy on him. Like, I was basically yelling to him from the side of the arena, like, shake it off, get it out of your head, don't worry about it. And literally when I said that, he just kind of shook his head like, man, it's hard. Like, obviously it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to weigh to get that out of your head. But, if he has to come off and just get it out of his brain for a minute, should do that. Like, make the adjustment, do what needs to be done to not only, obviously keep him physically healthy, but get that mental strain off of him as well. However we can do that mid-game. There's, whatever we can do. I mean, it definitely helped when he scored. Mm-hmm. We saw him re-energize after that. But, it's not just him. It's just, it's that stuff gets in your head. And it's going to weigh on you. It's going to influence how you play, especially when you get 2 in a row like that you just like beating yourself up on bad. And like I said, I could see it on his face, and it was just like, man, just Mo, just let it go. You're good. It happens. It sucks. Move on, and let's just keep playing. You got this. Mm-hmm. So it's just those kind of adjustments that we may need, we really need to see, whether that, like I said, whether that's pulling him off and just letting him kind of chill, and I don't know, give him a freaking Game Boy on the bench and let him just get his mind off of it. I know obviously that's not a thing, just a joke, but whatever it takes, I don't know, but those sort of adjustments to help us kind of readjust from issues like that. We're suffering in one specific department during the game. We need to try and adjust to fix that mid-game, just a shift to be able to cope with that issue with a specific player where, it just so happens that things are really going bad for him. Maybe pull him out for a little bit, just change things up. I don't know, but it just feels like something we should be looking at and trying to adjust on the fly, if at all possible.
Okay.
I don't know. Just a couple of things I thought about.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about that a couple weeks ago where it was like, guys, sometimes you just got to not, live with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, you have to live with it, not dwell on it.
Right. It sucks. It happened.
Yeah.
Get up, dust yourself off, move on. Leave it back there.
Yep. Goldfish. Gotta have the goldfish. If you don't get that, go watch Ted Lasso.
I still need to do that.
We're not even a year out from the end of season 3, and I'm kind of want to rewatch the whole thing. All right, that'll be our off-season content. Is we'll do a Ted Lasso rewatch podcast.
Yes, perfect. We'll just watch an episode a week.
Yes.
And give you our commentary as we're watching it.
And be like, this reminded me of this moment from the MAS.
What is this, a book club? Give me off-season assignments? What the heck?
All right. But that put a bookend on the regular season for Utica.
Yes, it did.
And then Sunday put a bookend on the regular season for the MASL. So let's talk about MASL.
Socks. Not socks. I don't want socks.
Socks.
No. Pat had some nice socks.
But
Pat Thompson had some nice socks.
If we give you socks, then you can be a free elf.
Don't make me put the blast thing back on. I'll do it.
No, that would be leaving you in indentured servitude for all time.
Anyway, around the league, shaking up the leaders, awards, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. League leaders. Well, let's just say it. Points. And Hinaro Castillo, the Flash. His 50 points are double the amount of points he had last season. And unfortunately, Frank Tayu, even with his monumental effort this past 2 weeks, fell 1 point short of tying him.
Just noticed that.
1 point.
Oh, Frank, you were so close.
Look, Frank had a great first year in Utica. Second in points, fourth in goals, and eighth in assists, which he was never used to be on the assist leaderboard.
Yeah, right.
Tied for fifth in points per game at 2.2.
No, that's awesome. I'm just glad he at least got up to second. Like to be behind, one of the guys from Monterey. I mean, that's big. I mean, considering Monterey's having a monumental season, being right up there is fantastic.
Yep, he was able to jump Dominic Francis, Tavoy Morgan, Zach Reggett, Marco Fabian, Vinny Dantas, and Brandon Escoto.
Yep,
with one game on Saturday.
Amazing, fantastic.
And I know you want to talk about this. Let's talk about the goal lead, Brandon.
Yes. So Zach Reggett thought that he had it locked up for the season. And then along comes Marco Fabian to tie him for 35 goals on the season. It is not a hidden thing that I am also an Empire fan. So for this to happen, I mean, he is, I know we're probably going to talk about it in a minute. He's got to be a lock for newcomer of the year. Has to be. Like, fantastic season, finishing the season tied for the most goals. How could you overlook him? But on top of, Marco and Zach Reggett tied for 35 goals at the very tip top. You've got Castillo at 32. You've got Frank Tayu coming in at a nice round, even 30. Brandon Escoto, 29. Dominic Francis, Jamal Cox, Vinny Dantas, Luis Morales, and finally Milton rounding out that top list. Just fantastic. I mean, just a fantastic lineup of who's who for goal scorers around the league.
Yeah, Milton cracking the top 10 in points and goals.
Yes,
in his second year in the league.
Yep. Only 2 teams, at least for the points, actually, and for the goals. Only 2 teams had 2 players in the top 10, and that is for points. That is Utica and San Diego, and for goals, that is Utica and the Outlaws. So, pretty nice. You got to be pretty happy about that. You didn't get the top, but you're in the discussion.
Pass master goes to Jean Ponce of the Flash, 25 assists. Mo NDI cracking the top 5 there with 20, tied with Nick Pereira. Frank Tayu, like we said, 7th or 8th with 19, or tied for 7th.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like a 4-way tie.
Yeah.
And it could be, I mean, we only see the top, 10 there. It could be tied more. We don't know.
Than that,
yeah.
I mean, Mo did pretty much what I expected of him this year. He was going to be that guy setting up the offense and finding goal scorers. I don't think anyone expected Frank to have that many assists.
Well, that's the thing. And it's come back to bite us a couple of times. This team is a lot of these players are very unselfish.
Yes.
A lot of these players would rather pass the ball than try and take that shot themselves. Obviously there's times where we really want them to take the shot themselves and not pass it. But at the same time, it's a good trait to have.
Yes.
Of, hey, I want to give this to my teammate. He can probably, he might be able to make a quick last second shot better than I will from where from this angle that they are literally have been watching me coming from.
Yeah, a lot of times it's if I can make this pass, he's got a better chance at scoring than I do. But the difficulty of that pass ends up, backfiring.
Yep. Yeah.
I love the confidence, thinking that we can thread any needle, but probably cost us a handful of goals this year.
Yeah.
Points per game. Frank Tayo is the only Utica player to crack the top 10 at 2.2. He finishes ahead of MVP frontrunner Genaro Castillo, ahead of goal leader Zach Reggett, tied with Marco Fabian.
He's tied with Zach.
I'm sorry, yes, he is.
I was going to say, that's like a four-way tie.
But, tied with Zach. Tied with Marco Fabian. Ahead of Castillo. Ahead of Dominic Francis, who was the Heat's entire offense this year, pretty much.
Yeah, he kind of was.
Mm-hmm.
You saw a little bit here and there from, some of the other players on the Heat, but Robert Williamson, every once in a while he would kind of come out of nowhere and score. But yeah, for the most part, it really did come down to Dominic Francis.
Yep.
Especially with Joey injured, for pretty much most of the season. So it, unfortunately, they kind of became a one-trick pony, if you will, in the scoring department.
Power play goals. No one from Utica cracks the top 10. That lead goes to Luis Morales with 6 of them. I think it's no surprise that Utica failed to crack the top 10 since they failed to score on power plays.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a very rare occurrence, unfortunately, if we scored on the power play.
Shorthanded goals. Nilton tied for the league lead with 2. Frank has 1, and I think we had at least one other shorthanded goal that doesn't make the list just because of how the top 10 shakes out on these.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a bunch of them that with one.
Yeah. Game-winning goals. The lead goes to Genaro Castillo. Nilton and Chino are tied with 4 apiece.
If Gordy had been able to play more, I bet he would have been on there.
I'm gonna say that's some clutch performance from our second-year guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Penalty minutes.
I'm not surprised who's on there.
Nope. Is there any shock that Nelson Santana cracks the top 10 in penalty minutes for Utica?
And Dylan. Don't leave him out of the equation.
The 2 guys that served suspensions for penalties are top 10 in penalty. Boy, who saw that one?
Listen, both of them are rough and tumble individuals. Mm-hmm. So, they put in the minutes, they put in the work, they throw their weight around, they make the plays happen. Sometimes it just costs them a blue. Mm-hmm. But either way, it is, they still contribute a lot to the team.
Blocked opponent shots. Look, take this stat with a grain of salt because the fact that the number 1 is Berto Palmer with 86 block shots, and then the top 10 finishes with Raymond and Ismael Rojo with 36 tells you that there might be a little bit of inconsistency in attributing shots as blocked to players.
It would be kind of like, what I talked about a couple weeks ago where, we start tracking steals. That's going to be a hard stat to track in and of itself. Mm-hmm. I know we've got some phenomenal statisticians around the league, but that stuff's hard. It's hard to tell what's what.
But no Utica player makes the list. Not a shock, I would say, because we rotate quite a bit because of our depth.
Yes, we do.
You don't have anyone playing just defense. And fouls. Frank and Nilton up in the top 10.
Yeah.
But if you take a look, the top 10 are either target forwards like Tavoy, Frank. Nilton's technically a midfielder, but half the time he operates like a forward.
Yes. Yep.
And then defenders. Rojo. Castillo's in there. Uzi Tayu. Just physical guys.
Yep. Yeah, it's the guys that, again, throwing their back into it, throwing their weight around. Especially Frank. He's a big guy. He's a strong guy. He's gonna bump into you. He's going to push you around. If you try and push back, then, well, he's going to push harder.
Yep. Goalkeeper. Goals against average. Coughlin cracks the top 10 with a 5.28, but the top goalkeeper by goals allowed is Diego Reynoso, 3.31. Kind of no surprise after he came in and Chihuahua fired their coach and brought in Hinoni Martinez.
Yep.
They played a much more Ryan Hall style of soccer.
Yes, they did. They're very, very defensive.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Save percentage, Christian Hernandez at 790, which is just a ridiculous stat.
Yeah.
Monterrey has two fantastic goalkeepers, but they split time. So, he only played 642 minutes, whereas we're going to talk about guys that played like 1,200.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you look at the next stat of, wins, and it's another keeper for the Monterrey Flash in Berna Valdivinos. I mean, like you said, they split time, and
yeah,
they split the stats.
He played 800.
Okay.
They just get the lead and sit him.
Yep. Now Andrew did at least crack the top 10 on the save percentage. I know I kind of skimmed over that a little bit.
Yep, 715.
So
which
very respectable.
I want to say is, if not the best, it's like one of the best of his career. Let me quick check. So his 715 save rate is the best of his career, and his 5.28 goals allowed against is his best since before COVID, when he was allowing 4.88.
Yeah, no, I mean, Andrew's been good for us. He's been, he especially, I think it was last year when he got COVID. He had a really bad year once he got back. It wasn't really bad, but it wasn't great.
No, that was 2021, 2022. We got
ago.
COVID in like December. They were just like, just play Wilkin more, please. Coughlin clearly is not at 100%.
Yeah. And then, when he's able to play, able to be at full strength, he performs well. He's always been a good keeper. There's a reason we've called him Mr. Stretch. He's just good. He's just very good.
Mm-hmm. He also cracks top 10 on wins with 12. So he won 3/4 of the games that he started this year.
Yep.
And with Utica winning 66% of their games, that tells you that he was above average as far as goalkeeping goes for Utica. And he cracked the top 10 on saves with 201. Toth led the way there with 273.
Chris Toth he's a good keeper, plain and simple. All the keepers on this list are fantastic. Chris Toth, Neto, Willie B had a fantastic regular season for the Wave. Navarrete, Paulo, Zierhofer, all of them. They had great seasons. So it's not surprising that they have almost 300 saves.
Yeah. All right. We'll go through the quick awards here. Take your pick. I'll take mine.
Okay.
MVP.
So, boy, if he hadn't been injured, Nick Pereira would have been a lock for that one. He really would have. He's still got a huge points per game average.
Unfortunately, he only played 13 games.
Yeah. So, MVP. If I had to go for an MVP, you can't ignore Castillo. 50 points, not only contributing 32 goals, but that means he had 18 assists. That's a great season. So, I kind of would have to go with him for that one. Of course, my mind wants to say Fabian, but I kind of go with the stat line too, though.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I think Castillo's the front runner, because MVP we tend to give it to in every professional sport. It tends to go to the best player.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to go by most valuable. The meaning of
the
it.
name, yeah,
The name, and it's a dark horse. Jamail Juice Cox.
Oh, okay.
44 points on the season. 28 goals. The Stars aren't in the playoffs if he doesn't perform to the level that he did when. Am I glitching out on you?
No.
No? Okay. You were freezing up on me, so I wasn't sure. I had the internet randomly drop on me earlier today, so I wanted to double check.
No, you're good. You're
okay.
You're clear.
Juice Cox, 44 points, 28 goals. Come on, the Stars don't make the playoffs. I mean, they probably make the playoffs, but they probably limp in closer to the 4 seed.
Yeah.
Especially after they lost Nick Pereira. And yeah, they ended up going out and adding Mijatovic and Stinson through loans for the end of the season, which absolutely helped them.
But, I mean, between the two of them, you got 12 goals.
We talked about it when Utica went out there to play, and it was, their biggest threat's Nick Pereira. They don't really have a whole lot of other offensive weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, Jamail Cox in his 10th season. This is the first time he's played more than 20 games. The first time he's had more than 20 goals. The first time he's had more than 10 assists. First time he's averaged 2.2 points per game, or 2.0 or more points per game. And he did this all at age 31.
Yeah, he's definitely been indispensable when it comes to the Star season, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see that argument.
Like, if you take Castillo off of the Flash, they're still a playoff team. They're still a very good team.
Right.
They're very strong defensively. They probably win the East still, or at least are competing for the 1 or 2 seed.
Mm-hmm.
You take Cox off that Stars team when Pereira goes down, and it just, that team falls out of the sky.
Yeah, you don't. They wouldn't be in the playoffs at this point. Yeah. I don't think they would be.
I think they stay ahead of the strikers and sidekicks, but I don't know if they stay ahead of Texas, and Texas limped into the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, instead of us going, oh my God, we're going to have a great series between Tacoma and Chihuahua, we're like, well, can't wait for another San Diego Chihuahua Western Conference final.
And then Tacoma won the last 2 against them, against Chihuahua.
Yeah.
Didn't expect that one.
Newcomer of the year.
I already put my lock in for this one. It's no question, 100%. This is Marco Fabian. I mean, there is no better person, in my opinion, to get this award. I mean, the guy comes in and gets the golden, ties for the golden boot for the season, his first season in the MASL, is in, contention in the top 10 for most points in the league. You can't argue with it. I mean, points per game, he's in top 10. He's in top 10s all over the place. I
can't think of a rookie that stepped in and had an impact nearly as much as him.
Yeah.
It's more of a lock, I think, than Castillo winning MVP. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I didn't get to catch a lot of Empire Strikers games.
Mm-hmm.
I did watch last night's, and, I'll be honest, most of the ones that I did turn on were just background noise as I made it home from work at 10:30, 11:30.
Yeah. I get that.
this is a team that really didn't have an offensive anything outside of Stinson, and then they loaned him away.
Yep.
And watching the game last night, it was like, just get the ball to Marco, get the ball to Marco, get the ball to Marco.
Well, they're trying to pad his stat line. I mean, you know.
Oh, once he got the first two, that became very clear.
Yeah. Yeah, they
like, we were more worried about trying to get him to the Golden Boot than we are about winning this game. He basically took the Frank role in Empire. It's kind of funny how we talked about at times in the past Empire would just try to run their offense solely through Frank, and they're like, all right, well, we're going to rebuild and trade away Frank, and we're going to bring in a guy who is a year older, and we're going to run the same offense except with a whole bunch of more inexperienced players.
Yep. And I was going to say, I mean, that's kind of what it felt like they did. They took the same thing that they used to do with Frank.
Which is weird because they got a new coach.
Yeah. But yet they still, kind of kept the same
basically
configuration. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Mm-hmm. Like, it's not a knock against Marco to point this out. It's just kind of like, the system that he's in really helped him not just have a good first season, but have one that was like, hey, maybe some of these older former national players that are struggling to stay on outdoors might want to come indoors.
Yeah.
And revive their careers.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen what it can do for Marco. And it, I mean, not to say that, God, my brain just doesn't work anymore. I'm sorry. It's my brain just stopped, needed a reboot. I was trying to think of what I wanted to say, and the next thing you know, it was just gone. What I was going to say was, seeing these players come from kind of these other leagues, and seeing that Utica just had signed his name's escaping me for the off season for the playoffs. Calvin Oliveira. Yes, thank you. I could not think of his name to save my life. Oh,
the $1 million
goodness! Van. But being able to see other players from other formats coming into this. It makes me more excited to see what he's going to be able to deliver. Granted, he's already got an extremely nice pedigree, as is. I want to see him pad that even more with his MASL career. Mm-hmm. So I'm, seeing what Marco has been able to come in and do, it makes me more excited for what Calvin can come in and do. That's where I was going. It just took my brain about 10 minutes to reboot and get there.
It's all good. You figured it out eventually.
Brain no work.
All right. Defender of the year. Seemed pretty. It's like I would love to give it to Leite. But he only played in 16 games, and that's a knock against him.
Yep.
Like we said, in the past, it tends to go whoever has the most blocks. And that'd be like Robert Palmer.
Yep.
Uzi Tayu, another option there.
I was going to say, I could honestly see it going to somebody like Uzi.
Chad Vandegrift.
Yeah. That one's hard. I mean, my first thought there was Leite, for sure.
Yeah, that was mine. And then I'm like, oh, no, he only got 16 games.
Not that, Robert Palmer, for instance, had many more than that. He had 19.
Right.
So, not to say that he had a ton more, but he did a lot more with at least like you said, with like block shots and stuff like that. Did more with those couple of games. So, I was trying to open up. I wanted to see one thing on their stat lines. Where was Marcio? So I wanted to just take a quick gander at a couple of different stat lines for all of these players. If you look at, yes, obviously block shots is a big thing for this. But I know like when Darren Toby won it, I mean, he also had a decent bit of goals, decent bit of points on that season as well. So if you take that into account, then it does open up the possibility more for Uzi and even potentially Marcio, because they do have a lot more points than either one of those, than either Robert Palmer or Chad Vandergriff, who are also in the top 10 for blocks. But these two other players also contributed a decent bit of points to their teams as well. So in my mind, with the combination of the block shots as well as the 20 points that he put up for the season, I would honestly be leaning towards Uzi.
Okay. One thing that stops me from, it's not all obviously on the defenders to stop goals, but what was Texas's goal differential? Did they finish with a positive one? Because I know they finished below 500. So now they finished with a -2 goal differential.
Okay.
I think Rojo stands a pretty good chance.
Of course.
I mean, just watching him, what he did in Utica.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was fantastic. I guess dark horse on this, I would say Roberto Escalante.
Okay.
He plays for the Savage. He cracks the top 10. He had 18 in blocks. He had 18 points on the season. He played 23 games. And Chihuahua playing half their games, well, more than half, because they then had games at Monterey on small fields. So they played at least 15 games on the small fields. They allowed the least amount of goals in the league, one less than Monterey.
All right. I could see that. Yeah, I could see that being
He's the best defender on the best defensive team.
Yep.
But I think that award also goes south of the border.
I could see it. I mean, I've obviously I could definitely see that coming. It could definitely happen.
And here's the tricky one: goalkeeper of the year. I think this one's the tightest race.
I want to hear yours first.
Okay. I think you could take 4 guys here. I think Reynoso. I know. I'm just saying. Let me make my case.
All right, fine.
I think you could take a case for Reynoso.
Yep.
At 3.31 goals allowed against is ridiculous.
Yep.
And we saw once he and Martinez joined Chihuahua how they changed things. Toth stepped in after Danny Waltman's surgery was done in the off season, and we mentioned Cox being a reason that the Stars were able to do what they were able to do this year. Toth was a big part of that, especially with all those blocked shots, because their defense is a little suspect on Tacoma at times.
Yeah.
Though they did add, like we said, a certain big-bodied defender with a rocket of a left foot.
Boy, that's for sure.
Willie B, and Nicola Neto.
Okay.
And this is, I'm going to be biased on this just because of I haven't seen as much of the game tape of Toth. I haven't seen as much of the game tape of Reynoso.
Uh-huh.
And I've seen Neto and Willie B in person.
Okay.
I'm giving it to Willie B.
We're in agreement then.
Okay.
Because that's literally... I don't feel that... I feel like without Willie B, I don't think the Wave is a... I don't think they make the playoffs.
No, I think Baltimore potentially makes the playoffs over them without Willie B.
Yes, 100%. He was... Don't get me wrong. They are a fantastic team. But Willie B, some of the saves that he made just against us were out of this freaking world. He just had a absolutely stellar season. Literally the best in his career for save percentage.
Sorry, I'm on. I was looking for the stats for Milwaukee just to pad this a little more for like how their defenders were this year. Mario Alvarez missed a third of the games. Stuart Grable is the only defender to play more than 20. Ben Raymond missed 7 games. Alex Bradley only played less than half the season. Eric Moser got called up for 2 games, and he was on. Sorry, he got called up for 1 game. He was on the Heat for another game. And then I scrolled down and I'm like, was Breno a defender or midfielder? Well, Breno's midfielder. But I couldn't find Leite. And he's on their inactive list. Is he injured? Am I not aware of that?
I don't remember seeing that. Of course,
yeah, Marcio Leite has been added to the inactive player list for Milwaukee Wave. And unfortunately, it's a new week, so last week's availability reports are gone already.
Yeah. Well, I knew that they were down Ian Bennett. I believe I had heard something that Leite was also having problems, some for having an injury as well. Now that we're talking about this, because I want to say that I heard somebody talking about that they were down 2 of their top players. And they were hoping that going into the playoffs, they were going to be back in time for the playoffs. So, yeah, those are 2. I mean, those are 2 key components of their team that they really need.
Yeah. But, you know, their defense has been a lot of moving parts this year.
Yep.
And in the games that we've watched Willie B play against Utica, he has been flying around the turf. Whereas in 2 out of the 3 games where we saw Neto play against Utica, one mistake just cracked his psyche and then led to another and led to another.
Yep. I just look at it as Willie B's had the best save percentage of his career with a 7.21. His second best was his last season with the Harrisburg Heat, which was a 7.09. He's had the best goals against average of 4.93. His second best before now was a 5.25 with his second season with the Heat. Like he's just had a stellar season, and I mean, I just have a really hard time betting against Willie B. But he's also the one that I've watched the most of, besides our team.
Like I said, I didn't see enough of Toth and Reynoso, but with such a lead on the goals allowed against, you know, I could easily see Reynoso taking this home.
Yeah. I mean,
3 goals versus 5 goals. Who are you going to take?
Yeah. No, I mean, Chris Toth had an amazing season.
Frozen up on.
No, just my brain stopped.
What? No, but I don't know what's going on.
You've been fine for me, so you've been good all the way through.
I don't. You just completely froze up on me. Let me try something. Yeah, I can tell you're faking that one because I can see your little bit of movement.
No, I'll just
right.
finish with this. All of these keepers have had great seasons, but I think overall, keeper of the year, goalkeeper of the year, I have to go with Willie B. I really do. I know he didn't have the most saves. I know he didn't top any of these, but just his performance and just the fact that, again, this was literally one of his best seasons of his career that we've seen, at least that has been tracked on the MASL's website. It's been one of his best. I got to give it to him. Toth would have easily been one of my second picks because, Chris Toth has been doing Chris Toth things in Tacoma. I mean, He was awesome on Empire. He's been great in Tacoma. Like, you can't say much else.
Yeah, no, it's been wonderful for Tacoma to have stolen him away in the off season.
Sucked for me, but being an Empire fan, it's like, what? We got rid of him? Really? And then of course we stole, quote unquote, both Mo and Frank, and they lost Uzi. It's like, man, oof.
I was gonna say before we talk playoffs, who do you think won those trades between Utica and Empire?
Yeah.
All right. As a fan of both teams, grade the trade for Utica and then.
Really?
Yes.
You're gonna make me do that. That's don't like you. Obviously, we know who came out on the better side of those trades. That is very apparent. The fact that Frank comes out of this season with literally like the top 5 in the league, and no disrespect to both Steph and Quentin, but they weren't on the list. They basically weren't in the conversation. So obviously you have to look at that and just say, well, clearly we made out pretty good. Likewise, getting Mo, I mean, he has been fantastic for us as well. I don't remember if it's been so long. Was that a trade or did we just sign him?
Trade.
That was a trade, wasn't it? I don't remember what we traded.
One of them just scored a goal for Utica this weekend. Damon Almazan. Yep. I blank it. Pepe Vieira, and I am drawing a blank on the third one. Utica City completes trade for Mo NDI.
Oh, Zuniga.
Zuniga, that's right.
Yeah,
so
I just found it.
None of those players played a game for Empire, and one of them played a game and scored for Utica.
Yeah, I was going to say one literally came back.
Like, that is an A plus whatever win for Utica, and that has to be an F for Empire.
Well,
you didn't just get nothing; you got less than nothing out of it.
Well, I don't know if you saw, but both Pepe and Damon. I mean, obviously Damon got released.
Yeah,
but Pepe got released as well.
Yes.
So, I mean, they didn't really get much out of him. So, and I don't know what happened with Zuniga. He didn't play, obviously.
I remember like an Instagram post where he was like, "What do you mean I was traded? I haven't played in that league in years."
But you have been traded.
Yeah. Kind of like, no, I'm not going to play for them. I don't even play in that league.
Yeah.
No.
Unfortunately, it definitely feels like not unfortunately. Unfortunately for Empire, because, I'm looking at this from both sides, as you're well aware.
Mm-hmm.
This trade did not work out in Empire's favor at all. I'm wondering if there was some potential cash considerations thrown in there as well, potentially. I don't know, but it was a very one-sided trade, both of them. Well, this one, the Mo trade more so.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they came out, Empire came out with a fantastic trade getting Steph, and, Q has also, at least, again, been a talking point on the team, just not overall in the league. So that one, maybe they came out a little bit better on, but the Mo one was that was just a failing grade.
Yeah.
For that trade, unfortunately.
I'm going to give Utica the A again on getting Frank. Anytime you can get one of the best players in your sports history, and yeah, it's an A. As much as it hurt our defense, as much as I spent a couple days just feeling gutted that we had traded Steph, and more we talked about how Utica fans weren't exactly fast to warm up to Frank. Oh, there were a lot of internal conversations about it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. This defense isn't going to be terrible. His offense will make up for it.
I mean, how many times did I say give him time?
Yeah.
Get the right setups for him. It'll be fine. Everybody chill out. And look what happened.
Oh yeah, no.
Literally, I told since it was the first time I had seen him in 72, it's finally got my picture with him. Super happy about that. Had a good conversation with him. Told him, look, I know that not everyone's been in your court. I have been rooting for you since you came here. I've been rooting for him since he was on Empire, because I was an Empire fan last season too. But it's you've always had at least one person in your corner this whole season, because, some of these guys, especially somebody like him who came in off of a trade that was not very popular with the Utica fans.
Yeah.
It's I at least wanted him to know that, hey, you've had at least somebody in your court this whole time. I hate the fact that he was treated that way for a while, but it's I don't know.
So
fan favorite can't necessarily trump what they do for us on the field.
Yeah. So A for Utica. I'm going to give it a conditional B- for the Strikers. And I say conditional because that hinges on if Steph going to Tacoma is alone for real, and not there was a falling out and they needed to get rid of him for the rest of the season and then figure it out in the off season.
Yeah.
If he's back for the next 2 years and everything's A-okay and he's scoring 30 points a year, that's great.
Distinctly possible.
B- because Q, no offense, but he hasn't had that breakout year like we thought he might have.
No, unfortunately, he did not have.
And
he didn't produce much.
We don't know how the conversations went internally or between the two teams. But looking where things ended at the season, if you told me at the beginning of the year it was Ronaldinho instead of Q, it would have been the same reaction. This is about getting Steph and then an extra piece. And then Ronnie has the same breakout year that he does. This is an A for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we'll see what next year brings and how that shakes out. If all they get out of it is Q and a half a season of Steph, it's a D. Unless Q has a breakout year next year.
I mean, obviously, we hope nothing but the best for him, but yeah.
But at this point, it's a rotational player, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right, playoffs. Let's talk.
Sox.
We got Sackers Outlaws, Chihuahua Stars, Flash Wave, and Utica Kansas City. Go ahead, let's pick our winners for the other three series, then we'll talk Utica KC.
Any particular order?
Nah, any way you feel like it.
All right. So I think I'll start in the West, and then I'll move to the East.
But
So I'll start with which one's the first one to happen? That is Chihuahua and the Stars for the West. I think that the Stars can pull this off. I sincerely believe that the Stars are going to knock out Chihuahua. I know that Chihuahua's got the home field for the second game and potentially the playoffs, or for the mini game. But I think Tacoma can really take this home for the first game, and I think they got a really good chance either in the second game or potentially that mini game, because anything can happen in the mini game. So I think with this team that they have right now, especially with the additions of Steph and Stinson, they have a fantastic chance. Therefore, I think it's going to come down to, as much as I like the Outlaws, it's hard to bet against the Sockers. I really think that we're going to see a Star Sockers in the final for the West. I think that the Sockers are probably going to take it in 2. I think they're going to win in Mesquite, and they're going to win the second game, and it's just going to be 2 and done. Wave and the Flash. I know we've had talks about this one. I think that if the Wave can win at home, they can potentially take this series. Potentially. It's going to take a lot. It's going to go to a mini game, but I think they have the distinct possibility of taking this series. I'm actually going with the Wave. I'm actually betting on the Wave winning this series.
Wow, taking a long shot.
Mainly because it's somewhat beneficial to us, because then we would have home field advantage in the second round, I do believe, because we were a higher seed than them.
Yes.
So kind of gives us the advantage if we make it to the second round. So I'm going to take that one because it's more beneficial for us.
Okay.
I honestly feel like ours is a bit of a wild card. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, we have seen back and forth with both of these teams. Now, if I remember correctly, Kansas City did not beat us at home.
No.
So, really, the wild card comes down to their house. We've won and we've lost. We won in overtime. We've lost poorly the next time we were there. I think this one comes down to a mini game, honestly. We need to perform well in the first game, but we also we're a little bit of a unique case because we have a week to rest after our first game. It's not like play one night, play the next night. So it's a bit of a unique situation. I could see Utica pulling it off. I do. And I want them to pull it off, obviously, but I can definitely see them pulling it off, pulling it into the next round. But I think it's going to go into the mini game. And we're going to have to win that mini game. Okay. So we're definitely going to, and luckily, it'll just feel like an overtime versus, a whole other game considering the break in between. So I think it's going to go to a mini game for sure.
All right. All right. For me in the West, yeah, it's going to be a sweep for San Diego. That's just Texas. They looked really good at the start of the year, and I don't know what's happened since, but they have fallen apart defensively late in games multiple times.
Yeah.
Stars in Chihuahua. I think that one goes to a mini game. I do. I think Chihuahua at home is, they're just different than they are on the road, just like any team that plays on the small field is.
Yes.
And I'm going to give it to Chihuahua in the mini game.
Oh, okay.
I think it's like a 1-0 in the mini game. Monterey, I'm giving them the sweep. I don't know what Ian Bennett's status is going into this. We don't know what Leite's status is. There's just too many question marks out of key players for the Wave.
Yeah.
And, I think Do they stand a chance of winning at home? Yes. They're still not great on the small field. And Monterey just has so much firepower to throw at you.
They really do.
They do. They had 3 guys score 30 points or more, including the league leader.
Yeah.
Utica, Kansas City, we'll take it a game at a time. Because they're going to be 2 very, very different games. And we know that because the first game will be at Kansas City, and everybody will have a full roster, other than injuries.
Right.
Game 2 is the toss-up. Because for those who don't know, World Cup qualifying for the Futsal World Cup starts the 13th and it runs until the 20th.
Mm-hmm.
And if Monterey wins and Utica gets past the first round, I don't think fans are going to be happy about when that next home game will be. I won't say when. I've heard rumors just working in the building. I don't know if they're true or not, but it's like, oh, that's not great.
Yeah.
But if it like that second game, Kansas City will be without Reget, who has scored 17 more points than anyone else on his team.
Yeah. Big player.
And Utica will be without Frank Tayu, Nilton De Andrade, and head coach Everton Morera.
It'll be a bit of a problem.
This one is it's going to hinge on in-game management from assistant coach Casey Murphy and how healthy Gordy is.
Yes.
Because he's been bit by the injury bug this year.
And how well Calvin adjusts.
Yeah. Look, I'm not counting any eggs before they hatch.
No, but he's in the conversation.
But yes,
it can potentially be a big piece of our playoff team.
Like that is a complete and total wild card. We know he's great in the 7-on-7 mini football settings, but boards are completely different.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. It will depend on how quickly and how well he adjusts to this league. If he takes to it like a duck to water, it's going to. I think we're going to be okay. Mm-hmm. I think we'll be just fine. But if it's slow to start, well, then it's going to be a potential problem.
Yeah, if we have game-winning Gordy, it's interesting. If it goes to a mini game, I don't think Utica pulls it off.
We haven't had good choice. We haven't had good. Good times when it comes to a mini game.
Like we talked about how sometimes this team can be a little bit mentally suspect. Mm-hmm. And if we're going to a mini game on our home turf again, and by the looks of things, Utica is going to be promoting a whiteout, considering all the playoff gear that they had was only available in white.
Yeah,
and that has not worked out well for us in the past 2 times.
In
fact,
you could say the same thing about the St. Patty's Day thing, and that worked
I was
out
about
okay
to say,
this week.
In fact,
this
themed games have not really worked out for us. From St. Patrick's Day to the Riggies.
Yeah, but that was a fun game, though. Regardless,
did we win?
I don't care. It was a fun game.
Didn't work out for us.
But did you win? No.
To address Huber's comment, all things look like Taylor Walter Bond will be back. And I only say that because his Instagram story was just a picture of his Capelli Utica City duffel bag or backpack.
But he also hasn't played in a while.
Yeah. So
another adjustment.
How game shape is he after 2 months off with a new child?
Exactly. So again, 2 people coming into or coming back to this team two big adjustments. Mm-hmm. And also not only looking at them, but looking at the adjustments that the rest of the guys now have to make with these two people.
Like I'll say, this game in Kansas City is the must-win game. You have to win. You are at full strength. And you can't come back home expecting home field advantage to be enough to carry this team when you're going to be missing so many parts.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know,
it's a big advantage, but it's not that big.
No. Now, you know, I've said it before on here. I think it's a joke that we don't get a break for the international tournament because obviously this league doesn't care about putting the best possible product on the turf. They just like, well, we have arena availability. We got to take it because these arenas were the third option in for a lot of them.
Yep.
Which sucks. Because in Utica, we've seen that this team has very quickly become the second option. And based on attendance at this point, if it wasn't for the fact that the AHL has so many more games, they could be the first option. Because, let's see, the Comets are under 3,000 fans a game. And the last couple, I've poked my head out, and it's like a lot of season ticket holders don't look like they're showing up.
Yeah, I mean, not like I've been to every Utica game, but yeah, I know I get your point.
Well, yeah, no, I'll say this: the Comets, the Utica Comets, not the KC Comets, because the KC Comets are selling out pretty much every game, and
yeah. I think that's probably good clarification because I originally thought you were talking about. I originally thought you were about Kansas City. I'm like,
yeah,
I thought they were doing pretty good.
Poked my head out into Cable Dahmer Arena from Central New York.
Hey, I don't know what kind of weird
voodoo
superpowers you got.
So barring the Comets winning enough to climb out of last place and make the playoffs, they have two teams they need to jump at this point with like 3 weeks left. Barring them making the playoffs, their last home game will be the 21st. So the odds should have open availability after that if Utica somehow makes it to or past the Eastern Conference Finals.
Okay.
I'd say 2 with home field advantage.
Which home field advantage is always good.
Yes. Assuming things go the way of the favorites, you know, the higher seed wins, it'll be interesting where they squeeze it in with games being on the 19th and 21st for the Comets. And
we'll just play on the ice. It's fine.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Sounds good. That's our. Anything else we got to add? I think we've covered it all, and then
we've
some.
Covered everything and then some. Yep, for sure.
You got anything at all? Anything? I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I can't remember.
I don't know how. We've talked about just about everything tonight, so it has been a long one, and appreciate y'all sticking with us.
Yes. Alrighty then. Until next time. I'm Matt. He's Brandon. Our outro will tell us where to find us on social media. Leave a like, hit the subscribe so you don't miss our episode. Oh, I know what I was forgetting. I got it. I knew it. I just had to talk long enough. Next Monday is the game. We're not going to do a show during the game.
Oh, why not?
Because there's a watch party and I'm working.
Yeah, and I'm not even 100%. I'm not sure if we're going to the watch party or what we're doing, but so. Yeah, that's true. No, actually.
I'm kind of tied up with the Women's World Championships, and
Wouldn't it be not an episode for the next 2 Mondays?
Yes. Yeah, because then
I was like,
then our game's
then
on the
we're home.
15th.
yeah.
So if we can squeeze one in there, we'll squeeze one in.
Yes.
Obviously, it depends on your availability, my availability, and given what my schedule looks like with this hockey tournament coming, how awake and sane I am.
Yeah, that's going to be a big thing. Because I mean, I can most likely make myself available, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you think ADHD brain is bad now? Put me on super sleep deprivation.
Yeah, so a little bit of an asterisk on the next couple of episodes. We don't know we don't know what might happen or what might not happen.
Yeah, just pay attention
but
to
we'll keep you posted.
Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and you'll find out.
Exactly. 15th live show from the Odd. If I had the equipment, I'm not going to drag my laptop in there or my desktop in there.
Hear me out. 15th live show post game after 72 is closed. We'll just do it in the dark odd as they're taking the floor out.
With what? Our phone?
Okay, it's got a laptop.
We'll
see who wants to be live at like 11 o'clock at night on a Monday.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have work the next morning.
Either way, we'll keep you posted.
Yeah. Pay attention to our social. Thanks for watching. Thanks for dealing with this extremely long episode. Until next time, go Utica. Thank you for listening to the Keeper's Corner podcast on whatever podcast app you use. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to interact with us, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Twitter or X, whatever you prefer to call it. We have a TeePublic shop where you can get UCFC player swag or help support the podcast. Thank you. We appreciate it. And one last thing. Go Utica City.